is that time again where you have to switch on, because this is the Switch On Network. The name is Lerato Phago. Dumelang wherever you are. Thank you so much for Lerato le le re bontshang lone ko the different social media platforms. And this time around, a season review, because we are inching close to the final games of the season, but you already have a clear idea with regards to the players that have stood out, the coaches that have done a sterling job this season, but also just the team dynamics around what happened in the PSL. Joined by the person that you all love to hate. Hey, Nadim, how do you feel though? Nadim, Lukhele, how do you feel knowing that so many people, they want to love you, but there's that hate element that comes in?
Even they also hate me, there's deep down love. The hatred comes at that moment, then it comes back. Remember, some of them, they say they hate me, then they come back. You were right,
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it's fine. I know football is an emotional sport. I've been there where I feel like growing up supporting Arsenal, when the team is not doing well, you feel like anyone who speaks negative against your team is wrong.
I have to say, I love the fact that you always say that you don't read comments. You are not bothered about the fire that you cause.
I don't read comments simply because I just appreciate people watching and viewing and subscribing. And then the comments, because some of them, they will congratulate. Tomorrow, the same person will come and say it's wrong. So the comments are good. They must come. But there are people who read it.
All right. A reminder as well, subscribe to the channel. Comment, tell us what is some of the things that you'd like to see on the show, but also don't forget to like and share our content. So now we are talking the Betway Premiership. Very successful season for Mamelodi Sundowns. Were there ever any question marks with regards to whether or not, maybe it was a matter of how close it would be this season? Did you have any of those questions?
Yes, I did have questions. When the season started, I saw Sundowns losing home and away to Stellenbosch in the struggling to score a goal against Polokwane City, being eliminated in the semi-final, not scoring a goal in 3 games because against Polokwane it was an own goal. I just thought Pirates were going to be just better enough than them with Mangoba Mngit. But immediately they changed Mangoba Mngit as a coach, then it was different. But I did feel Pirates have a strong chance to win the league this season. Let's
look at their dominance then. They've now made it 8 titles in a row. They are looking to get 15 PSL titles. In the PSL era, this team is formidable.
Yeah, it is formidable. It's the strongest team in the PSL. Any player that is strong enough, all the players in the first team of Sundowns, they've not developed them. They buy success. If there's an example of money cannot buy success, is wrong. Look at Sundowns. They are buying success. If you look at all the players from the goalkeeper till even the reserves, most of them are players that are not from Sundowns development.
Somebody can come in though, Nadim, and argue that it's okay for you to say that they're buying success, but you can also have a team that can have all the big players, big names, costing a lot of millions, but they can't play as a unit. They're not a well-oiled machine. And I think that is what previously used to happen before the arrival of Coach Pitso Mosimane, where you had all of these players that were bought with big monies on big salaries, but they were unable to compete with the teams that didn't have the same capabilities in terms of the financial muscle.
Of course, just like when Vets also bought success. When Vets came, they bought a lot of players. They won the league. It's very clear now. The PSL league is a league that is no longer about football. It's going to go to the highest bidder, who is prepared to spend more money on buying players. The team that's prepared to do that, that's going to do well. Sundowns, yes, in the Cups, they've been a failure because since 2022, they've not won a single trophy in the PSL. But in the league, they've done well because their players are just strong enough to carry the team. In a 30 games season, it's really difficult to get more wins or more points than them because, yes, they've changed coaches. Immediately they see that the coach is not going to do well, is not gelling them. They will immediately change and get a new coach, of which that also balances up. So it's difficult for them. They don't allow you to go 2-3 games losing a match. Immediately, Nabi would have long gone if he was coaching Sundowns. So they are very quick in getting rid of a coach. Even, one would say even other coaches, all the PSL coaches, if they were coaching Sundowns, they changed Rulane, who lost 1 game last season. So they changed
Final
very
game
quick.
Of the season.
Yes. So they changed very quick. So for me, it looks like their success is not really a football success that you love because what they are doing is not done anywhere in the league where they can just buy anyone without the restriction. All over the world is football, sports, in any sport, basketball, NBA, anyway, there's financial limit how far you can spend. They've got a free check where they've spent over so much money in South African football.
Let's talk about that, the financial bill. How much have they spent in between 2022 and 2025, the season that is about to end now? How many millions?
In my calculation, they spent over 400 million rand. Imagine to win the PSL prize money is 15 million. And then to win all the trophies combined in the South African football is still less than 50 million, but they can just buy salaries at 64 million. So it just tells you that how they spend is not like it's a team that cares about making profit. It's a team that can spend, even if they can make a loss of 100%, they will continue spending because their money is coming from a rich billionaire, Patrice Motsepe. They don't care about making money and also improving the team. That's why sometimes when Sundowns are playing the Champions League, they've been saying, come wearing a yellow t-shirt, you'll enter for free. So for them, even get takings is not important. As long as you are there, it's more like they will spend. Anyone who wants to spend in the Soweto Tatip, they are prepared to outspend you. So for me, it has really made Sundowns a team that is so difficult to beat because they took Lodge from Pirates. Now he's somewhere in Morocco. They took Malulega Chiefs when they were about to win the league title somewhere at Amazulu. They can do that easily without an effort. Stellenbosch.
He's actually at Kazakh Stars.
Yes. George Malulega.
Yes.
Oh, of course. Now, yes. And then so they've been doing that with a lot of players, even at Stellenbosch, Reyners, again with Jaden Adams. You've seen them moving. Any best player that they can get in any team, they can sell.
Yeah,
they can buy. Yeah.
No, you're right. Actually, Kruger United. Sorry, not Kazakh Stars.
Yeah, Kruger United in the Mpumalanga side. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, you look at where they are. I hear you talking about the prize money for winning the domestic league, but that has never been the aim for them. Yes, it's important to win the domestic league, but they've always been adamant that they want to compete on the continent. And don't you feel that with competing in the continent, you need the players that they're acquiring? You need players that are of a different caliber to get you over the line in the Champions League?
No, I don't think so. I don't think you need to do that. You just need a good balanced side. Orlando Pirates showed us by reaching the semi-final with so many players are coming from that development. Look at Sipombule, good story player from SuperSport United. They sign him, they put him in the stands. Immediately, then there's the stories that he came to training drunk, and then they get rid of him. Now there's Kukune is no longer there. So they can sign a player just because Chiefs want that player, just to put him on the bench. So that the other team to destroy competition. They've been doing that for years. Just like when George Maluga, Chiefs were about to win the league title. Pitso Msimane is the one who kept on calling George Maluga to join Sundowns. Promise him, just like George Libese, it was the same thing. And then when you're there, they don't play you. Already, they weakened the opponent. They've been doing that successfully. Even with Stellenbosch, it looked like it's a team that was going to be on the rise from last year when they won the Carling Cup. They took two of their best players, signed them easily. They went to Cape Town City. They look who's their best defender. They signed their best defender, Cupido. So it's thing that Sundowns are doing it, and it's not helping South African football because it makes their winning where you cannot really feel like, okay, this team is fire. They buy players. Even all the starting lineup of Sundowns, not even a single player from their development. Why? Because they don't care about development. They care that the other teams will develop them.
No, but you've got Abo Letlaku, Kutlano Letlaku, you've got Malibongwe Khoza.
How many games is started? I'm saying all the starting lineup players at Sundowns, the key players. If Sundowns are playing in the Champions League final, do you think you'll see Malibongwe Khoza starting?
No.
Exactly. They don't care about development. They don't care about having their own players breaking. Like Mfokeng at Pirates start, not because someone Omkota. They play on merit because they are the best players in that position. At Sundowns, there's no player from the development who can say is the best player in that position.
Percy Tau, and he was outstanding.
Percy Tau doesn't play for Sundowns.
I know, no. I'm saying at a time before he left for overseas, they've shown that they do believe in their academy structures.
Pitso Msimane did. The current management, Fleming Becky, they believe in buying. Their slogan is that we'll buy you. So any player that shows that he can play football, it doesn't matter which continent, they will chase you. Either you're in Belgium, second division, you're in South America, whenever, they will come after you and buy it. Pitso Msimane, yes, is the kind of a guy who built SuperSport United, then Clayt, developed locally based players. But since he left, now it's a matter of they have to buy.
It's okay for you to point out the negatives with regards to other playing personnel that they're acquiring from the different teams. But can we sit here and not acknowledge the fact that for us to get to the semi-finals of the AFCON is due to Mamelodi Sundowns having such a strong team? Because when you look at the squad makeup of Bafana, it's consistent performers at Mamelodi Sundowns.
It is based on that because what happened? The goal was scored by Jaden Adams, who just came in. He did well when they played against Experience, even though I feel Experience were robbed. That goal should have been allowed. It was not an offside. That was poor referee in the semi-final when they allowed, quarter-final, when Sundowns were not even supposed to reach the semi-final. So there are small things like that. But the more you have a depth squad, they're good. But Sundowns have been buying without even reaching the final. Remember, Sundowns have not reached the Champions League final since. This is the first time since they've last won it.
Though, even with Coach
it doesn't matter. They've not reached it.
Close.
They've not reached it. So we can't say they're winning it. Ali have been winning it and reaching the final. Even Wydad, before their previous owner was arrested of drugs, he's the one who kind of a guy who was running a team like Sundowns. But since that drugs money is no longer part of the setup of Wydad, the team has been weakened, struggling to win the league in Morocco. It's also struggling to maintain that kind of buying players like Sundowns. Of course, Sundowns' money is not from drugs, it's from mining, because in Mtsipa, we know that he's into mining, but it does damage the PSL because the other teams are not going to spend 60 million on one player. And if a team, Sundowns, come with an offer of 50 million, even tomorrow, they can go and chase maybe Mfokeng or whoever, that team will say yes, because they need the money to spread across the squad. So Sundowns, they're using their money, sell power to really oppress the other teams, of which I don't think it improves South African football, because yes, it improves Bafana. We've seen Sundowns team nearly winning the AFCON, of which it was good that they were coming from the same team, but none of them were developed by Sundowns. So we can just say, we can give credit to SuperSport United. And also affecting teams like SuperSport, who can even be relegated because they oversell. All their best players have sold to Sundowns. It's one-way traffic. I think there's even a shop at SuperSport United that immediately you start developing, we are going to Sundowns. It's almost like a development of Sundowns. That's how bad it is. Before SuperSport United won 3 league titles in a row, they were competing with Sundowns. It used to be a 20 rivals. Now when you see Sundowns and SuperSport, it looks like a development. That's why Gavin Hunt did say, if you can have the squad of Sundowns, you can easily win the league. Now it looks like even the coach who win the league at Sundowns, we can't give him credit, because any coach, Mangoba to won the league with Sundowns, won a treble actually. Rulane won 2 league titles, and this guy, Mikel Cardoso, was sacked by Esperance because he's struggling in the beginning. He's going to win the league. Are we going to say he's a good coach? No, because of the kind of quality players that they have.
Let's talk about
even Junior
players,
Kanye can win the league with Sundowns. I honestly think so.
Let's talk about the return on investment with some of these players. Because yes, they're spending quite a lot of money in acquiring their signatures. But when they come in, for a lot of them, they make their presence felt. A player like Marcelo Allende, he's one player that has proven that he's worth every cent that they spent on him.
No, when I see him, I don't see a 50 million player. I don't feel that he's way apart of talent and Bata. So, and Bata to Pirates was not 50 million. I don't think he's way ahead of Sipombule. Yes, he's been consistent, and there is an agenda that has been coming that we need to say is good. He's okay for me. I think he's almost equal with what we have. If I look at the midfielders of Sundowns, if you ask me who's the best player of Sundowns, I'll say there's none of the guys. It's Tebo Homkwena from SuperSport United that they've signed. So none of the 60 million, 64 million they bought, I can say is the best players. And to support me, the guys that have been winning it in the past 2 years, the player of the season has been won by Williams and Mgwen. Even now, I think it's between them also again.
Another season.
Yeah. I think, yes, I just believe that Sundowns, the players that they are bringing, yes, they win the league, like Ribeiro, he came in from a second division in Belgium. But if you look at the kind of players that they could be developing, like Mkulisi, who they don't give him a fair chance. We don't know how far they can go if they can give their own chance. But they're not interested in doing so, so we'll never know.
Okay, and still talking about some of the players where you're able to get return on investment, you have to look at the type of competitions that they've been involved in, whether you want to look at the African football, what was it? The AFL.
Yeah.
Being able to win that as well. You needed the players. They're also going to a Club World Cup. So you can say that they're not just focusing on the domestic front.
What is an AFL though? Because it's something that came once. We don't know how it was organized. Then
they won it.
We don't even know the criteria that was used.
They won it.
They did win it.
They won
but
it.
You don't know. But the AFL is more like a short-term tournament. But that if they win the Champions League, I will say their investments have really paid off. But the AFL is not. We don't even know how it started. I don't even know if the other team. It could be Sundowns. They were well prepared. They knew, since Mtsipa is the CAF president, he knew about the AFL. He prepared for the AFL without the other teams preparing for it. Maybe they had an advantage of that.
Okay, and still talking about that, this is a team that is preparing to go to the Club World Cup. You're not just playing domestic football. You're not just playing continental football. You're going out to see what the rest of the world has to offer. Don't you think that justifies their spending? It justifies the players that they have? Club World Cup.
It does justify it because it has improved them. But I'm just thinking that even Esperance are not spending as Sundowns. Even Al are going to there are teams in North Africa who are going to the club. It's not the only team. They're not using the model that Sundowns are doing. Even if you in Egypt, they're starting to feel pressure. That's why most people in North Africa, they don't want Pyramids to win the Champions League, because Pyramids are using the same method that Sundowns are using in Egypt. They are owned by wealthy people. They are buying any player that they see. They don't even have 1,000 supporters. You look at Sundowns fan, they are winning the league. You hardly see them when they play in front of a full crowd. Why? Because they don't have supporters. Sundowns, they've got, maybe if you can count properly, I don't think they have more than 100,000 in South African football. Proper supporters that can attend matches. That's why when you see Sundowns playing, no matter, they're about to win the league. I mean, that was, if it was Pirates or Chiefs in that position when they played Stellenbosch and won 3-0, that was going to be almost a half, that stadium is 20,000. It was not even half full. Why? They don't have fans, but they are winning without fans, to show that the success is almost like the same pyramids. Sundowns, we can say, is the pyramids of South Africa, where they're using money to get the success, but they're not building it enough, even in the grassroots level, where the players can identify with the team. Look at Pirates, the Passionate, and Kaizer Chiefs. They won the trophy, Nedbank Cup, but you can see that it's in the DNA. People are with Chiefs through and thing. I don't see that with Sundowns.
Let's now shift focus and look at something that is very interesting as well. We did talk about having a season recap. We'll start with the coach of the season. It's going to be interesting. I think the debate across the board is the coach that wins the league. But that doesn't mean you can't credit the coaches that they were amazing in different competitions. Coaches that pushed beyond their capabilities or capacity with regards to the squads that they had. And also coaches that didn't have the players, but they were able to make deal with what they had. Your thoughts on coach of the season?
So for me, the coach of the season is a coach who improved the players that he had.
Irrespective of whether they win the league or not.
Yes, either they win the league. Someone who played a huge role, that this is also bearing in mind the kind of squad that you have and the way you took them, the team, and how you improved them. So I cannot say a Sundowns guy who found the team on top of the log, that they won last season with a record number of points, suddenly he's the coach of the season, the best coach. No. For me, Miguel Cardoso was not the coach. For me, when I look at the coach of the season, I'm looking at a guy like Owen Dagama, who find the team that was almost like 6 points getting relegated after winning the Carling Cup. The team was disjointed, but he came and masterminded it, and now they are even a team that no one is talking about. Makesi can be relegated. So if you look at the guy in 16 matches, he had sometimes like 5 consecutive wins at home. You look at that, you just look at, and Jose Rivera at Orlando Pirates playing with MDC players, Orlando Pirates not supporting him in the January transfer window with recruitment, even though Sesana got injured, Nda was injured. So many players were not in the team, like Saleng, who we still don't know what is the problem, why he's not playing for Pirates. Because we know that Saleng for sure is not injured. We saw him playing in the chain squad, but he can't play for Orlando Pirates. We don't know why he's not playing. We don't know if he's sick or injured or whatever. But the guy still maintained promoted players like Nkota. Then we saw Madibe. So you are seeing a lot of improvement. That's the kind of a coach for me, a guy who can improve players. That's what Pizzo used to do at SuperSport United. That's what Ribeiro did at Pirates excellent, where players like Mfoken were given a chance, Nkota. Lots of players like Talende Bata, Maswanganyi from SuperSport United were not household names, but he improved them. For me, when you look, I can't say the Miguel at Sundowns has improved the player. I don't see a player that I can see him and say, yo, he came at Sundowns, this player was like this, he improved them. But I can say, look at Makesi and see a lot of improvement. Even Sekukune Siema, if he was not let go for off the field incidents, because Siema, when he was fired, he was in a number 3 in the log. You will see Kukune that it was a team that was improving. So those are the coaches for me. I think maybe Jose Rivero or Cardoso. For me, those are the 2 coaches that this season I think should be. One of them should be a coach of the season.
What about Adnan Beganovic for TS Galaxy? Found the team after coach Sead Ramovic had left. They were also very close to being relegated. They were right at the foot of the log standings, and now you find them within the top 8.
He is in the top 3 contenders of the coach of the season. Even if he wins it, Beganovic, I will not be shocked. What he did at TS Galaxy, it looked like Tim Sugas. It doesn't matter what he was saying. It looks like he was going to be relegated. But when Ramovic left and then he put Beganovic, TS Galaxy started winning, playing well, improving. we saw a lot of improvement from the team. Those are the kind of where under the Ramovic, the team was not improving, but he improved the players of TS Galaxy. It's not like he came and bought so many players. He improved what is there. For me, that is a strong candidate to be the coach of the season.
I'm also trying to think about Coach Phuthi Mohafe. Yeah, 2025 was not a good year compared to the way they started the season in 2024, but also key injuries. When you have Tabang Matuludi out injured, I think that really does cost the team. Do you think that Coach Phuthi Mohafe, with the squad that he had, he maybe deserves a special mention?
He does do. I mean, he started so well. As you say, Matuludi got injured. And Apolis, remember, he wanted to go to Chiefs or in a big team. It looked like now he's not happy staying there because he wants to leave. There was an interview where Dr. Kumalo said on Soccer Zone that coach wants to leave. I don't know why I'm still here. He's not in Polokwane. And if you can look at Apolis, even in his place, he has been taken by Mfokeng and Bafana. He's not been the same player that he has been also in Apolis for Polokwane City. So Phuthi has really done wonders because Polokwane City has been one of the most difficult teams to beat, even though they've not been winning in the second half of the season that much, but they've not been an easy side to put aside. So for me, I think the way he started the season and the fact that we're not talking about them, that they might be relegated, we're talking about them, that they can still make the top 8. For me, he should be in the candidate to be the coach of the season. But he mustn't win it because the collapse, his name deserves to be mentioned, but not to win because the collapse from January is unacceptable.
Yeah. And then we're going to look at the different cup competitions before we get to the league and the different categories in the league. Let's start with the MTN8. Your player from the MTN8.
For me, the MTN8 player of the season is between two guys. Mojela, he scored a brilliant goal for Stellenbosch. He got injured. It's unfortunate that injured did rule him out of the season. He didn't feature the MTN8. I don't know where Stellenbosch were going to be. But I know if maybe he played well the whole season, he was going to go to Sundowns. Sundowns were going to buy him because it looks like they are the customers. He
did say he wants to play for them, ne?
Yes. And the Stellenbosch, they are Sundowns customers. So it looked like it was going to
happen. But they're selling to everybody.
Exactly.
Van Rooyen to Pirates, Ashley Dupree to
But even Sesana from Pirates, that young defender was a man of the match in the final. He played brilliantly. His injury at Pirates, it actually was bad because him and they were coming up with a strong combination. For me, I will not be shocked if Mojela, but I think it should go to Chabiso Sesana because won the man of the match in the final and it was brilliant.
Then we move on to the Carling knockout, and a player that was consistent with winning the man of the match awards is Elvis Chipezeze.
I've never seen such where a guy was in every match. He was saving more than 8 shots on target. He won a man of the match from the last 16 until the final.
And they met Orlando Pirates
They put Orlando Pirates aside at Orlando side. And actually, it looked like it's a walkover for Pirates because remember, Marcus didn't start the season well. So when they were drawn in the Carling Cup, it looked like Pirates just won the MTN8. They would put aside Marcus. Then Marcus beat Pirates fans at Orlando Stadium. So then they did so much. I mean, to beat Sundowns in a final like that, and Sundowns had 7 shots on target. They only scored 1 goal. He was the man of the match right through. Elvis Chipezeze, it will be criminal if he's not the player of the tournament.
And then we move on to the Nedbank Cup.
Nedbank Cup, Amakosamahle won it. I mean, for me, Pule Modi has been brilliant for Kaizer Chiefs and Miguel because defensively they only scored how many goals? 3 goals in the tournament. I will give it to one of them, but I feel the guy that really played a huge role for Chiefs to win, Pule Modi, even in the game against Stellenbosch. He was so involved to make sure that H. Stevens makes mistakes in the second goal. Pule Modi, I think he deserves, because even in the final, he played very well against Pirates. He nearly scored, he didn't score, but Pule Modi should be the player of the tournament in the Nedbank Cup.
No, certainly, he contributed a lot, especially when you look at the number of goals.
That was also one of the top goal scorers,
yeah. And then we move now to the Betway Premiership, the league, different accolades. Do we start with goalkeeper of the season? Ronwen Williams? Sipo Chain, who else are you thinking?
The only goalkeeper with more than 10 cleats this season so far is Elvis Chipezeze. 11 clean sheets. I'm not talking about the Carling Cup. Even in the league, 11 clean sheets. He has to be the goalkeeper of the season. For a team like Marcus with such a weak defense, to have so many clean sheets, even Chain, Williams, all of them, they don't have so many clean sheets. He has done so wonders. He deserves to be the goalkeeper of the season.
Okay, we move now to midfield of the season. I feel like there's going to be people are going to be torn about this. Midfield of the season. Do you then see a Talent Mbata going head to head with the Tebogo Mokoena? Do you also see Esipesihle Ndlovu? Yes, the team might not be doing well, but it's sad not to acknowledge the individual. And also, yeah, really.
For me, in the midfield of the season, you put him for Keng and the Mokoena. Then Mbata. The guy that it depends. Maybe that's why it needs to be clear. An attacking midfield or defensive midfield. Because in terms of...
It just says midfielder.
Yeah, that's what it needs to be clarified, because it's unfair to compare Mokoena and Mfokeng. Because if I look at the holding midfielder, making sure the team that it rises up, even if Sundowns don't play well, but Mokoena still becomes the best player on the pitch. For me, but then Mfokeng has to be the best player, because remember, Tebogo Mokoena was not starting. Flemingbeck didn't want him to play. Him and Khulis him down. So he told Mangoba not to select him when the season starts, because he was trying to frustrate him, whatever. But I believe that Rebohile Mfokeng started the season, played all three games. The only game he missed is just before when it was rested against Arrows. So he should be the player of the season.
Then for defender of the season, we have Tresor Chibabwa, Sikukune United player. I think he's one of the players that never really got off to a good start with the team when you look at the sending offs and just not being consistent. And then later on, he was able to find his form. Do you also look at Usamgelo Kabini and Lebogang Nkaki as well? One of the unsung heroes when you look at Polokwane City and what they have been. We're talking about defenders that have got goals in them that contribute.
Also, there's Tabumolo Isane Stellenbosch, who has been so brilliant for them.
Yeah.
I think also it's his time to go to Sundowns.
What about Fawaz Basadine?
Basadine is a left back. Chiefs wanted him. He's a Bafana player. He's also one of the most impressive defenders. He's also deserved to be mentioned. But overall, that defender that I think he should be the defender of the season. If you look at the performance, I'll go to Nkosinathi Sibisi from Orlando Pirates. I think he's been ever present. He's been there. He has been played well. He played his heart out to the season. I don't see any player that has been consistent more than him.
It's going to be interesting. So you're not going to give it to the team that has won the league. You're going to give it to...
It's Sundowns. Remember, there was Suarez. There was Grant Kekana. There have been so many changes. Malubongo Koza. You hardly see a defender. There's no defender that has played more than 20 games. So, I mean, you end up giving someone who played 14 games or 15 games and say he's the defender of the season. Even if Khuliso Mtao has not played more than 20 games. So, we are not going to give someone who played those number of games and say he's the player of the season.
Now, this is where the country will be divided. The PSL player of the season. Or is it? No, the PSL player of the season. Let's look at the candidates. Lucas Ribeiro. We have Ikram Reyners. Same team. Devin Titus from Stallies. Talent Mbata, who you believe has been solid for Orlando Pirates.
No, it's been impressive, yes.
Lebogang Nkaki, I think a lot of people would say we were not expecting a player, like him to be here, but he is in the mix. And your favorite, Relebohile Mofokeng.
Yeah, of course. Mfokeng, I believe, is the best player in the PSL this season. He should be winning it. Even Reyners, I'm not sure who to choose between Mfokeng and Reyners, because there was a time where Reyners was scoring almost a winning goal, game-changing matches. Reyners is the one actually who sent the score, the bar to be higher between Pirates and Sundowns. He was scoring one goal. Who scored? Reyners. Making sure the following game, Reyners, he's been scoring in many key matches, more than 5 key matches or in the league where he was winning. But if you look at the guy who is ever present at Pirates lineup, played almost every minute, and Pirates is still the only team that is at least, that was mathematically can catch Sundowns. It's because of Mfokeng's standout performances. At Sundowns, I mean, he disappeared, Ribeiro, for the past 2 months. He didn't score assist, but they were still winning. That's the thing about Sundowns. Even if you put Shaulile on the bench, the other guys will just continue winning. So Mfokeng is the kind of a guy, when you put him out of Pirates, that winning is not going to be there. A player of the season, for me, I feel is a player who makes a difference in the team. And Mfokeng, I feel, is a player who has made difference in his team more than any team. At Sundowns, even if you keep Ribeiro's goals, all the goals he has scored, Sundowns will have only dropped 2 points. Mfokeng, if you do that, you remove his assist and goals, it's going to be worse than that.
So, in your opinion, really, yeah.
No, Rele Mfokeng is going to be football of the season, but I'm not going to be disappointed if they give it to Reyners, because what about
Ribeiro?
Ribeiro, he has done well in terms of assist and goals. As I said, for me, he's more like a festival player. When the team is playing well, you'll see the best out of him. But when the chips are down, you see him struggling. Against Pirates, we're expecting him to show that at FNB, he didn't even have a shot on target. Sundowns in the whole match had one shot on target. He was there. He was getting frustrated. So, I don't know. Lots of people, I expect him to be one of the strong contenders to win it. I won't be shocked if he's given the award, but he's one of the players who've been standout. For me, either or, but for Keng and Reyners and Ribeiro, all of them are contenders to be the player of the season.
All right, so we closed the chapter on the accolades for the season. Now we focus on the national team, our junior national teams. They're doing so well, Nadim. I think there was a time where the teams couldn't qualify for African Cup of Nations. They couldn't qualify for the World Cup. And it was concerning because then how do we get them to have a smooth transition into the national team, into Bafana, into the under-23 side? Let's focus on what the coaches have been able to do. Big shout out to Coach Vela Kumalo, who is the Kaizer Chiefs DDC coach, also the under-17 coach. They qualified for the African Cup of Nations and they qualified for the World Cup. Now the under-20, Amachida, they're in the semi-finals. It's big for Coach Raymond Mdaka, and also they have unlocked the world stage. They've qualified for the World Cup. For
me, I wonder when I see a guy like Robert Mtaba, he spent like almost a year without a job. After what he did at Marumo Karanzi. Remember when Marumo Karanzi lost in the semi-final of the CAF Confederations? He was a coach of Marumo Karanzi. I like the style of play. He brings out the best out of South African players. I mean, credit for him to qualify the under-20 today. I mean, you give credit to everyone because if you look how the league played, Kaizer Chiefs allowed Mfundo Vilakazi to join the under-20. If you look at the DTC, most of the players are coming from that setup. Also, giving credit to Safa for getting a guy like Raymond Mdaka who assembled those players. Because it's always good. Even Hugo Press was complaining about that. If the junior teams are not performing, where should I get the Bafana players from? To see them going to the World Cup at a bigger stage, maybe we might start seeing a lot of young players going to the overseas. Of which that's what you want. Because where are they going to see them? Are they going to see them in the PSL? No. The PSL is only available at SuperSport in South Africa. When you're in England or in wherever, you can't see the PSL. But those junior tournaments, you can watch them. So it's so important that our players get exposure. Because without SuperSport United, where can you watch SuperSport if you're outside South Africa? So for me, it's so good that they will get exposure and they will be well marketed. I'm happy with that. Also, big credit needs to go to the DSTV Diski Challenge. When you look at the players that are playing there, graduates of the DDC, Mfundo Vilakazi, graduate, Langelihle Pili from Stellenbosch, Tylon Smith from Stellenbosch as well, Mbekeze Limbokas, who was supposed to be with the team, but of course, league commitments and everything that is happening. Even Botumelo Redopane from Pirates is part of the DTC was a stud. The DTC has been something so beautiful because now, gone are the days where we hear. Now you can see actually the young talent when it's coming from the development that we know at Kaizer Chiefs expected this kind of a players from Stellenbosch. They've done well. That's why we're not surprised when you see Stellenbosch keep on releasing players. Selling players to big teams, but they're still improving. They sold their captain to Pirates Van Rayon. They stole Reyners, they stole Adams. But from the DTC team, they are bold enough to promote players to the PSL. For me, it's so beautiful. It's a beautiful concept that you have to thank the chairman of the PSL, SuperSport, and everyone involved.
Multi-choice.
Yeah, multi-choice. It's something that it's improving South African football. It's not only improving the PSL teams, it's also improving Bafana setup. Because Safa have been not really having proper structures where they can uneat talent. This is a very good platform where you see young players getting a platform and they get to actually play on TV before they make professional, which is good. That's the only place where you can see that. And it does improve South African football. Yeah, certainly. And seeing the likes of Oswin Apollos as well, playing for the national team, playing for the DDC side, then SuperSport United, Jaden Adams as well. Nadim, that's where we have to wrap up episode 5. But yeah, fiery episode, I have to say. Thank you. It's been a great one. Danko. With that said, we'll see you on the next one.